ruffle away.
You just be quiet.
Yeah, who cares? No one's listening right now.
Open wide for some soccer!
We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Fucking thing sucks.
Hello. Welcome to Open Wide for Some Soccer. My name is Seth Vertelny. Alongside me, Pablo Maurer, Thomas Floyd, and guys, let me just wish you a happy new year.
Our last show was on December 6th, 2016.
Yeah,
I have my MLS Cup prediction for you guys.
No. Our last show was an MLS Cup preview, so we thought that tonight we would start out with a in-depth breakdown of just how the Sounders were able to win in Toronto.
But don't worry, we'll leave time for my 20-minute Steven Gerrard retrospective as well.
Don't forget, we have to squeeze in a preview of the Super Draft as well.
Yes. And also, we really want to keep track of the zoning board hearings and see if DC United will, in fact, get final approval to start construction at Buzzard Point.
Yeah, guys, a lot has happened since the last time we did a show, but one thing that we haven't missed is a DC United goal.
That's right. In the past 4 months, the past 100 or so days, DC United has not scored once. I think they have this year as many yellow cards as shots on goal. I read somewhere.
That seems like a less than ideal statistic.
Yeah. Yep.
Less than ideal statistics is a rejected name for what we eventually called sad stats.
I think we're going to give it a few more games before we break out the sad stats again. You know, let's not get crazy here. I mean, you know, it is MLS. The first 2 months of the season are completely irrelevant. So
I feel like, you know, when we started doing this show, it was in the 2013 season, and it really helped us find a footing in the podcast world. That DC United was just so bad, almost to the point where people had to tune in every week to see what stats we would come up with.
Everybody loves petty, hateful shit, and that's what the podcast was that entire year. So, you know,
everyone loved it except for Ben Olsen.
Oh, yeah. No, well, whatever. Anyways, guys, as usual, we're taking your calls. 708 LTOWFSS. Going to talk MLS, DC United, some U.S. national team. Going to talk about how terrible Minnesota is, how amazing Atlanta is. Going to talk about Bastian Schweinsteiger. A couple of other things in the docket. Yeah, that's it.
We have to start off. By the way, guys, this is our 100th show.
It is actually. That's actually a truth. That's actually a true. You know, and in some ways, I think we waited so long to do this because we were planning on doing something special for a 100th show, and then realized that we were all too lazy to do that.
Right.
So.
I actually think that is a true statement, and we probably would have done a show like 2 months ago, but we wanted something spectacular. So here you guys go. So we need to lead off the show just for old time's sakes by talking about Long Tan.
Oh God!
What do you guys think?
He finally made that big money move to China that we all knew he would. What's his team name again?
With apologies to anybody who speaks Chinese or knows how to actually pronounce this, I'm gonna go with Changcheng Yatai.
Changcheng Yatai.
Definitely sounded like you made it up.
Yeah, but that's definitely where he plays.
I didn't make that up. And
I looked at this earlier. The best part about Changcheng Yatai, if I could just pull this up real quick, is they play. Their stadium is called Development Area Stadium. I'm not sure.
One of the rejected names for Buzzard Point.
Yeah, exactly. Industrial Park. I don't know.
So communist.
Yeah. Wow, look at that logo. It looks almost like Donald Duck kicking a soccer ball. It's incredible.
What is that thing?
I don't know, but also the team is owned by the Yatai Group, and this sounds pretty sinister. Its core businesses include cement manufacturing, securities, coal mining, pharmaceuticals, and training. I think it's like the Leidos of China. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm
drone manufacturing.
I'm gonna tweet out this image from our account because it's some sort of a anthropomorphic pig figure with hair.
Wait, you think that's a pig?
And well, look at the nose.
Oh yeah,
It's
kind
got
of
like
snout
hair, but then it has antlers too. Very classy. Should we? So congratulations, Long. We're
rooting for you as always.
We're rooting for you, and obviously we're upset.
And also,
but enough Long Tan.
Well, I want to quickly discuss how Phoenix Rising are putting together this haphazard effort to replace Long Tan with a much lesser version of him by going after Didier Drogba.
What?
Yeah,
Is that true?
Oh, that has been reported by multiple outlets. They have Sean Wright Phillips, who used to play with Drogba, so maybe that's a link.
That is like the saddest USL thing I've ever heard in my. We'll get Sean Wright Phillips, and then we'll get Drogba's ear, and then, oh my God.
There's no way Drogba's going to be half as good as Long Tan was for them, though.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah. All right, let's dig into DC United, shall we? It's been a while. Obviously, off to a horrendous start. Where to begin with this? I say we start in the back because I feel like that's been the root of most of their problems.
So this offseason, the team went forward with this strategy of phasing out Bobby Boswell, who's been a staple for the last 3 seasons in central defense alongside Steve Birnbaum. I think that's a reasonable decision. Boswell is starting to get up there in years, and there were times last season when you could tell he had lost a step, and he was never the fastest player in MLS. It's kind of remarkable that just through his leadership and positioning, he's been able to have this amazing career for over a decade in the league, despite not, having blazing speed.
Leadership and positioning / like ankle destroying / cheeky like knees in the back of thighs and
But I think if you want to move on from Boswell, signing a new center back to partner with Steve Birnbaum probably would have been the more proactive decision. Sean Franklin was a free agent, and having him come back as a converted central defender is looking a little iffy through the first 3 weeks. It's still a long season, and as we've already mentioned, you can pretty much suck for the first 4 months of the MLS campaign and still get away with it. But the early results with Franklin in central defense aren't amazing, and I'm wondering if we're going to see Boswell get back in there, if we're going to see Jalen Robinson or Kofi Opare get a shot, if we're going to see Steve Birnbaum return to form. That's an entire another discussion. He hasn't been at his best in these first 3 weeks, so there are a lot of questions about the back line, which has been the steadiest unit for United over the last 3 years.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me of last season at the beginning of the year when Ben Olsen moved another one of his favorites on the roster to a new position, Nick DeLeon, to center midfield. Didn't quite work out. How long did that last? It was about a month, like 6 weeks?
I want to say a little longer. They kept playing DeLeon in central midfield. I remember games in June when that was still happening.
Yeah.
And then they finally decided to start going with Jared Jeffrey in that spot, setting up DeLeon to play right back around July.
It seems like this experiment won't last as long as that if it continues this way, because they can't continue to ship goals the way they have been, and there are a couple of ready-made replacements there on the roster in Boswell and Robinson. But certainly that issue in the back line, the chemistry between Birnbaum and Franklin has hurt them. But we also have to move farther ahead the field. Clearly, no goals. That, as far as I know, is problematic.
Yeah, I mean, worth mentioning they played their first 2 games without Acosta, right? And it showed.
Sure.
And I think even this past game, he was he looked good for 30 or 40 minutes, but faded pretty quickly, and by the end of the game was limping, cramping up.
I think At outside midfield, Lloyd Sam and Patrick Nyarko have had moments, particularly Nyarko. I think he's been all right to start the year, but they haven't been as good as they were last season.
I'm sorry, but we have an early 6 degrees of Rochester Rhinos here. Jamie Vardy.
Okay. Jamie Vardy. Oh, wait. I think I've done a similar one before. He plays with Wes Morgan, who is on Jamaica. And then...
Once you get that important bridge.
I know.
it's just
I love
like-
how disgusted
just
we
like-
are when he gets the first one.
Wes Morgan.
Keep
son
going.
of a
Plays on
bitch.
Jamaica with...
Let's see. Who am I going to link this to? He plays with Kamar Lawrence, who's on the New York Red Bulls.
20 seconds.
Kamar Lawrence played with Ryan Mira, who was at New York City with Ethan White, who played with John McCarthy.
My God, that was sex. Just barely.
I feel like if I thought about it longer, I could have condensed it. But
Nicely done. Anyways,
Yeah,
where were we?
Thank
that
you.
was pretty good.
Yeah.
So,
By the way, the one thing people requested during these 4 months of our hiatus was repeatedly requesting 6 degrees of Rochester Rhinos.
I feel like if we just did an hour of 6 Degrees of Rochester Rhinos, we would probably be one of the most popular podcasts out there.
Seth, do you have one for him?
Yeah, let's interject a little later in the show. Let's not go so heavy. Let's just
How about we
let's try to
how about we do it right now?
Okay. Cristiano Ronaldo.
Oh, that's
Okay.
that's an easy one.
Is it?
let's see. Cristiano Ronaldo plays with Toni Kroos, who plays on the Germany national team with Marco Reus, who plays with Christian Pulisic, who is the son of Rochester Rhinos assistant coach Mark Pulisic.
Oh God.
I have a new weapon.
Jesus. What was the one? This was obviously a few months ago because we haven't done a show in a few months. But there was one that you discovered that was like the key to every
Yeah.
player on earth. I
like
remember it was like
what Jack Nicholson is or whatever in 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Mauro Biello played for the Rhinos and managed Didier Drogba. So right there,
that's your connection to all European leagues, basically.
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
All
right, getting back to DC United.
So how are they going to score goals? Patrick Mullins is hurt. I don't know exactly how severe the injury is. Probably looks like he'll miss a couple weeks at least, right?
Yeah, I think that's what it looks like. There were some updates out training today.
Yeah, and I've had some concerns about Mullins. Maybe he was sort of a one-season wonder, kind of came in at midseason, and other teams didn't really know what to expect and went on a goal-scoring run.
And we've seen this before in MLS. Remember when everyone thought Jack McInerney was the next great thing in American soccer because he had half a season where he scored 10 goals?
Yeah. So the obvious replacement for Mullins is Ortiz. I don't know. I've been sort of indifferent on him so far. We haven't seen a lot.
He was. I sort of saw him hyped by like maybe it was Black and Red United or some other outlet by saying he'd scored a couple goals for the Costa Rican national team, and then I dug into it and he scored like I'm just gonna guess it was like Martinique.
It was Belize.
And the CONCACAF Cup or whatever.
Copa Centro
Copa
Americana.
Central America, excuse me, yeah. The qualifying tournament for the Gold Cup.
Yeah.
Belize. Wow. Interesting.
2 goals against Belize.
Yeah. That's like 0.25 goals against most other teams.
So that means that he should do really well in the Open Cup then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyways.
So where are the goals going to come from?
Well, I think Ortiz is going to have to be the guy. I wonder if they're going to explore other options. If Ortiz doesn't pick it up, Kamara's in the mix. He's been down in Richmond getting some minutes. Guys like Letou and Nagel can play that position in a pinch. They're not really strikers. So there are a few options. There's some decent depth. I mean, particularly Nagel. He played that role a little bit to start last season and scored a nice goal against the Galaxy and quietly ended the year as DC United's Golden Boot winner. And I wonder if he's going to be a factor or if they purely see him as an outside mid at this point. But who would have thought that a month into the season you'd be thinking like, DC United kind of misses Sabarillo.
Oh God.
I assume you guys saw.
Embarrassing.
He played, I think, 2 games for Saprissa and then retired abruptly.
Because there's some disagreement with the coach or something like that.
It actually was fans were harassing him, and he just released a statement that boiled down to, I don't need to put up with this shit.
What?
Thank you.
I think I missed that.
Yeah.
And they had this whole hoopla when he came back. Like, finally, Sabarillo's coming home after being gone for so long. I guess.
I'll also say this. Last year, he had a roundtable around May when he made it abundantly clear he has no interest in playing as a off-the-bench role player. Like, he was getting questions around then of like, what's it like at this phase in your career when you're getting older and adjusting to a new role? And he's like, I'm a starter. I've never been anything but a starter. I'm going to start. like,
Nope.
so, but yeah.
Anyways, what else with DC United? Let's talk. I mean, Marcelo Sarvis seems to be in the middle of one of those years where, much like Boswell, you can kind of see he's falling off a step. Maybe not the. And there were signs of this last year, I think, as well.
Yeah.
You saw him commit
He was
some pretty stupid fouls, a lot of yellow cards. The sort of stuff that's indicative that
his injury down the stretch robbed him the yellow card record.
he was 2 yellow cards away from setting an all-time record, and
And I mean, speaking of down the stretch last year, his injury opened up that defensive midfield role for Rob Vincent, and DC United went on a winning run with Vincent. So you could argue that, especially now, another season past that, another year for Sarvis to age, that Vincent might be the better option. But of course, the problem right now is Vincent is injured. So.
Question from the audience from Jose Umania, I think is how you pronounce it. Do you see the return of Benny Ball if results do not start happening soon? Did it ever leave? Is this?
I think we saw an evolution of Benny Ball last year where, I mean, they were scoring goals galore. They had 33 goals in, I think, 12 games. Absurd totals. So it was still Benny Ball at its essence, but it was like ramped up, attack-minded Benny Ball.
I think it was just Benny Ball with a couple of individuals who were real difference makers.
Yeah,
guys who could just take guys on or combine nicely with each other,
and with a true finisher at the number 9 spot they hadn't had.
They did change formations though.
They did, yeah, the 4-1-4-1, and I wonder about the other central midfield spot that Harks has played the last couple of games. It was Jeffrey in the first match. Buescher's a candidate for that role as well. There are a lot of different options, so there are a lot of question marks about what the best combination in central midfield is.
I'll say this, man. On paper, statistically, Harks has been most effective there. If you look at his line for each game, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he's made any crazy difference in any of these games, but
also, I could maybe see him being a candidate for the deeper role if Sarvas is struggling and Vincent's injured.
Is he that kind of a player, though? To me, in the little that I've seen of him, it seems like he's more effective as a true box-to-box number 8.
I think that's true. I just mentioned it because Olsen mentioned in preseason that he sees him as a candidate for that role. So it's
from the audience, and this one's really easy. It'll probably take you 10 seconds. Diego Valeri. Okay. Rodney Wallace?
Yeah, Diego Valeri played with Rodney Wallace at the Portland Timbers. Wallace is on NYCFC with Ethan White, who played with John McCarthy.
All right, moving on.
You go to that Ethan White, John McCarthy quite a bit.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, I can throw you other ones if you want me to drag this out.
What was the big off-season news that was like there's a new hub that you can use?
Well, Pulisic.
Oh, that's what it was? Okay. All right,
the Rhinos also signed Cristiano Francois, so anyone on DC United I can think of.
I completely forgot about that human being.
The Pulisic one is clutch. Like, now, anybody who's played for the national team over the last year or so, and anybody who will play for the national team in the next decade, is going to have just 1 degree of separation.
Yeah, Valeri played with Darlington Nagbe, who plays with Christian Pulisic.
Guys, somebody call us, 708-LT-OWFSS.
Before
the point in the show where I start begging for phone calls.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Matt Doyle. Matthew, are you listening? Matt, friend of the show, Matt Doyle, the MLS analyst. I followed your Facebook page yesterday. You owe me, okay?
Yeah. Before we move on to general MLS stuff, we wanted to talk a little bit about the groundbreaking for the new stadium, which is happening.
Yeah. I was the only one there. You guys missed it.
Yeah, sorry about that. The most amusing part of the groundbreaking to me was that they didn't actually. It was like a box of sand.
It was across the street from the actual stadium site, and there was just a box of dirt that
They're probably like scared they would hit an underground chemical reserve or like a Native American burial plot.
Well, when we got there, construction was already underway. They were doing work and clearly had quietly broke ground.
While nobody was watching.
Yeah, a week or two before, at least.
I mean, we were all at some. Weren't you there when Mayor Bowser tore down a shed with an earth mover?
I skipped that one.
She nearly killed me.
Yeah,
we were at the original one, which was like 3 years ago now, where they were at Buzzard Point, and they were like basically saying, "Here is where." Someday we hope to have a stadium, so let's have a press conference about
this.
Here's
where we will build our 30,000 seat, fully covered stadium with 16 LCD
with
scoreboards.
Bouncing stands.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it turns out they're building Buckshaw Stadium.
So Thomas, you wanted to talk about Plan A and Plan A.
Okay, so the big takeaway I have from this situation is them being steadfast in their commitment to opening Audi Field. Tangent. Audi Arena sounds much better to me. I like alliteration. Seems like a missed opportunity.
It just
doesn't it have to be like an arena of some kind?
I kind of like Audi.
Is Rebel Arena?
Kind of like Audi Park. Although all these things just make me think of belly buttons.
Huh.
Like an Audi.
I hadn't thought of that, but now I will.
Yeah, I wonder if you technically have to have some sort of covering to be considered an arena.
Right.
I think
maybe.
Yeah. But Audi Field, it's like, are there even any stands? I mean, is it just a patch of grass?
But they have said they will open the stadium in June of 2018. So that is only a little over a year from now. And it's a time frame that's not unprecedented. It lines up with how quickly Houston built BBVA Compass Stadium from groundbreaking to first game. That said, that was a less complicated, less expensive stadium. I don't know if either of you guys have been to Houston, but it's a very simple. It looks elaborate, but it's a pretty simple structure when you walk around there. And this stadium looks a little more ambitious, definitely more expensive, and they will have to play 12, 13 games on the road to start the year to make that happen. And if there's any sort of unexpected delay, then you're looking at 14, 15, 16. You're running out of road games to play in a row. Unless
they might as well just book Ludwig Field at this point and call it a day. I mean, I'm sure it's what they'll do. I am sure this will be their last year at RFK because the team will not eat the amount of crow it would require to like go play 5 games there. But I guarantee you, maybe they end up playing a couple of games at FedEx Field or at Ludwig Field, or
that's why
Recreation Center in Columbia Heights. You know,
that's why I alluded to at the groundbreaking. We talked to Jason Levian, the co-owner and the guy who really pulled the strings on getting this deal done, and he said we have Plan A and we have Plan A. So
always, by the way, that's always a really great, intelligent way to be. You know?
I assume that's the public line, and that they do have some sort of contingency plan in place, whether it's FedEx Field, whether it's Ludwig Field at Maryland. But it would be very interesting to see what they will do, because if you play 14 road games to start the year, are fans going to turn out for a match every weekend from June to the end of October, pretty much? It feels like just an awkward way to open up this next chapter for DC United.
Yeah, you just got to pick up points on that opening 17-game road streak, and then
17-game homestand.
And then 17-game homestand, yeah.
Guys, let's move on to some MLS. First, I want to go to the Open Wide for Some Soccer voicemail box to a request from Matt from San Jose.
Hi, this is Matt from San Jose. I was just calling to dare you guys to not talk about the San Jose Earthquakes tonight. Have a nice night. Thanks. Bye.
Challenge accepted. We are not going to talk about the San Jose Earthquakes tonight.
But Anibal Godoy.
Yeah, I mean, we might talk about Chris Wondolowski, who is still on the U.S. national team.
I mean, whether we would have been dared to talk about them or to not talk about them, the outcome would have been the same.
Yeah,
We will not
yeah.
talk about them.
But, Matt, we appreciate you giving us the pleasure of allowing us to fulfill your request to not talk about them.
What do we want to talk about,
Uh,
guys?
You know what? This is out of order, but let's start with Basti Schweinsteiger. I'm curious what you guys think of the signing. It's it's funny. It's the first one in a while where I've seen it announced or leaked, and then just a massive outcry on Twitter of like, this makes no sense, and Chicago should be dumping money into younger players, or they need a 10 and a center back. They don't need I was kind of excited. I mean,
we talked about this before the show. I think Schweinsteiger, and yes, he has barely played for the last 2 years, but I think he's a guy who you have a chance to sign him. He's 32 years old, started for the team that won the World Cup 3 years ago, was still starting for Germany in Euro knockout round matches this past summer. You have a chance to sign him. You sign him, and you figure out how to make it work. I think he's a player who can fit into the system they have, even though they already signed Dax McCarty and Juninho, who play roughly the same position. I think you can put those three guys in midfield, and they're intelligent players, high soccer IQ. They can figure it out. I also think there's a precedent for that type of player in MLS, these deep-lying playmakers like Pirlo, like Gerrard, for those guys being more successful in MLS in more advanced positions. When you have that much class on the ball, you want that person in the final third more. You don't want to spend that much money to just kind of have them circulate passes around. Not that that's valueless, but you want goals, you want assists out of these players.
I mean, look, realistically, my other beef is that have we gotten to a point here in MLS where the standard for one of these signings is, he can't even crack Manchester United's starting 11. This is a player who would start for 95% of teams globally, right?
And the Man United situation is, I mean, maybe he's really lost it, but it seems to be more about
coaching dynamics.
Yeah, they just told him, hey, you're not a good fit for this system. You're not in our plans. And then they didn't figure out a solution, so he's been stashed away on the bench. I don't think it's been performance related.
I mean, anybody who thinks that he doesn't make the Fire a better team is high on some sort of strange hallucinogenic drug. I don't know.
I feel like
is it worth the money? There's my last little bit of input on it is, maybe he doesn't make perfect sense for the Fire, but there are players, I don't know, Beckham, Thierry Henry, those level of players where, it doesn't matter whether you're looking for an attacking midfielder or, a center back or anybody else. I mean, you just take them when they're available, for their effect on the field and maybe for their effect at the gate, their effect in the perception of your team globally or even in the league. Now, is Schweinsteiger one of those players? I don't really know, but I think that's kind of part of the idea behind the signing for sure.
Yeah, I wonder about the gate potential of a Schweinsteiger. I mean, certainly he's a name anyone who has followed soccer over the last decade knows. Is he going to get people out to Toyota Park?
I mean, there are it's huge German population in Chicago, just for what it's worth.
I really thought you were going to say in Bridgeview.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
but I think Bridgeview Wiener Schnitzel House is, a happening spot.
I feel like the signing of Schweinsteiger also I think it caught a lot of people off guard because it sort of cut against this narrative that we've seen in MLS over the last several months and in the off season was that MLS is moving away from this kind of player, right? Like Gerrard's out, Joseph Martinez is in, Maxi Morales.
Yeah, it's just it doesn't mean that it can't ever, it's still going to happen.
Right.
And it's completely fine that it happens. Like,
right.
If MLS wants to, this is just a tangent, but if MLS wants to appeal to these like casual soccer/football fans or whatever, they kind of have to have players like this, I mean, as much as quote unquote Euro snobs like to say, to call it a retirement league or blah blah blah. when Beckham was in the league or when Henry was in the league, how many people do you see at games that never would have been there had he not been on the field? I mean,
and I think Schweinsteiger just gives some sort of injection to a fire organization that has been very lifeless for the last 5
badly
years.
needs something other than a lethal injection.
And they went the other way. They signed Nikolic, who's in his prime DP, who's a part of the other model that we're seeing become more prominent in MLS.
Yeah, and they signed a head coach that was very involved in youth development, is sort of plugged into the younger side of things. So I mean, it's not like I don't think the fire cleaning is like the solution to every problem, But I mean, why not take? It's a 1-year contract.
Yeah. Also,
I mean,
last point on Schweinsteiger. I think for how long he's been around, you would think that he was like 35, 36. But
he's 32.
He's 32.
Yeah.
I mean, he does have a lot of mileage for a 32-year-old, but
he's been doing nothing for 2 years.
Right? He's been just running
he hasn't
laps,
played soccer
basically.
since he was 29.
Yeah.
I just look forward to Chicago's meeting with Orlando, in which Schweinsteiger will face his mortal enemy, Will Johnson.
Oh, God.
Do you guys remember? Will Johnson was the one who injured Schweinsteiger in the All-Star game, prompting the Pep Guardiola, Caleb Porter handshake.
I also remember there was a particularly egregious Ozzie Alonso tackle in that game
basically,
as well.
Yeah, so every D-mid in MLS is going to just destroy Schweinsteiger's ankles.
So speaking of petty spats between teams, let's just talk for literally 90 seconds about the social media row between the LA Galaxy and the Portland Timbers, which I thought was obviously brilliant on the Galaxy's part. I mean, how could the league hate fun so much that they, if we're to believe what Grant Wall reported, which certainly he's well-connected, well-sourced guy, I believe it, that the league is considering giving the Galaxy some sort of talking to about it. That was the most retweeted tweet I've ever seen of any MLS team, by the way, ever.
Oh, yeah, by far.
Hilarious. It brought attention to the league. I think it rightfully called out two Portland players for horrific dives.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry that Pro is embarrassed because they missed obvious calls, but like...
And then the Timbers' response was really sad too.
Okay.
Like they
stay tuned, guys.
Like we have video teams too. Like
I know how to use a MacBook as well.
First they got owned, and then they got self-owned.
I don't care. I don't care what Wall's piece said. This was all Merritt Paulson. It was all Merritt Paulson. Just Anyways, I'm happy we're all on the same page. Then it was ridiculous that it was even a thing.
Do we know if that talking to has happened?
I don't know.
Look, man.
And if so, what was said?
I'm not. Again, I mean, I'm not.
Dude, ask
questioning
Cosmo.
what was in Wall's piece, but I mean, we haven't seen anything happen, and I sort of wonder if that information really wasn't that accurate to begin with.
I'd also like to think that,
or if the league saw the backlash about that and was like, you know what, maybe we don't fucking talk to them about this. By the way, the Galaxy have won the league's own Best Social Media Team award like 3 times in the past 4 years. All right, so anyways.
And also it was just harmless and hilarious. There was nothing malicious about it. It was, if there was anything considered on the league's part.
So we're on the same. We're all on the same page then. That's great. All right. What next?
Should we talk about the expansion teams for a little bit?
Yeah, let's. Do you want to? And for those of you who don't know, Seth Bertelny is a native Minnesotan.
It's true.
Has been waiting for this team, I think, for quite some while, whether he admits it or not.
Have you renounced your Minnesota citizenship?
I am still a proud Gopher.
I want to add to this that his lovely fiancée Lindsay is a native Atlantan, and this could not be working out better for her or worse for Seth. Let's just start with Minnesota United. Thoughts, concerns.
Well, I think that a lot of people saw this coming. This has been reported on by a number of people, Grant Wall among them.
Anyone who looked at their roster?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty clear that they just did not have a very structured plan in place. And actually, through my Minnesota grapevine, when
Oh,
I was
wow.
when I
Oh,
was
man.
Minnesota Ice Vine.
yeah, I had heard a long time ago that they were planning on going their entire season without signing a designated player.
Yeah.
And maybe they thought they could get away with that, and maybe they still will just because there's so much excitement about having an MLS team. But what Atlanta United has done, I think, ramps up the pressure a lot. And then when Atlanta United goes in and destroys Minnesota
On an ice rink.
in their first ever home game in conditions that should be favorable to a Minnesota team.
Here's like I think I speak for Thomas on this, and you can add to it, Thomas. There is no excuse for this because I think one of the common refrains when it comes to what's going on with Minnesota is, well, they had this like 6-month sort of lag behind Atlanta. They've had less time to build a team. I don't care. I mean, look at what DC United did between 2013 and 2014, for example. Mm-hmm. This is MLS. I mean, teams have made crazy turnarounds from being terrible to great without all the mechanisms that Minnesota had, without a core of NASL players, without, any of that shit.
Just look at this offseason. Nothing stopped Minnesota from trading for Dax McCarty or
Juninho or any of these other
or just scouting in CONCACAF for guys
signing
like Kyoto and Ellis, the wingers who've been so successful for Houston. I think their strategy...
Even a player like Sebastian Letou or somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like somebody who can add some value. And
they have very few proven MLS players, so they basically had to roll the dice with these newcomers. And to a certain extent, most expansion teams have to do that.
Yeah.
But there's just a lot of guys that you really had no idea how they were going to do at the level of MLS.
And I think there are two major issues. I think they overestimated some players they scouted and brought in, particularly Demidov, who Pablo has been calling him the new Adam Nemec, which seems pretty apt. Well,
we'll see if he lasts the whole year.
He has the makings of worst player in MLS history if he just kind of fades into obscurity. He played 2 games and was single-handedly culpable for like 4 goals and then got benched. They signed him with TAM, so he was an expensive player.
Also, he was their captain.
He's their captain.
Where's he from? Norway? Something like that.
Scandinavia,
yeah. I don't know. One of those places.
Yes, he is a at least former Norwegian international.
He's very bad. Calvo, the Costa Rican center back. I've seen people making a case that he's better as a left back. He's out of position. He's been very bad. And then I think the bigger issue is they invested heavily in guys they were familiar with, and I think vastly overpaid for them, and that handcuffed them when it came to the cap. Like Miguel Ibarra looks like an MLS backup who they are giving a pretty large salary and shelled out big money to bring him in.
That's what happens when you get one cap.
It sounds like they paid pretty big to sign Christian Ramirez from their USL team. They shelled out record amount of allocation money to sign Kevin Molino, who I think is a decent second or third option in your attack, but they signed him to be their go-to guy, and that seems like a mistake. So I feel like one of the pluses of being an expansion team is you have this clean slate and you don't get binded to bad contracts that can weigh you down and hurt you with the cap. Minnesota managed to already do that very quickly.
Well, we'll have to see if Adrian Heath survives the year. I sort of have him on my short list of coaches who might get axed mid-season. Although that would be unfortunate because he just came from...
Is it Matt Doyle?
It can only be him, right? 404 on your own open wide for some soccer. How can we help you? Hello?
That's Atlanta.
404. Let's just let the silence happen.
Well,
is this Miguel Almiron?
I mean, I think we were going to talk about Atlanta anyways, so whether the call goes through or not.
404, give us a call back. Anyways, meanwhile, Joseph Martinez is like the new Sebastian Giovinco.
He has more goals than every MLS team except for 4 at the moment.
Atlanta triggered his buy option so quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. ridiculous.
They saw him for 3 weeks and like, yep.
He had the ultimate baller celebration on the goal he scored from no angle, where he just ran at the eye boards and just stood there. 404, you're on Open Wide for some soccer. How can we help you?
Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going?
Pretty good, man.
What's
How you
up?
doing?
Hey, can we talk national team, or do you guys already talk national team?
You know what? We can do a little national team right now. We're gonna talk more about it later, but let's hear what you have going on.
Well, I mean, it's it's 100 shows that you guys have made, and congratulations. I mean, I've been listening since like show 20, I think.
Wow. So like 2013 or something like that.
Yeah.
We're spacing them out.
Yeah. What's up?
I said we're spacing them out, man. So what's your national team query?
Oh, I just wanted to ask if you guys think Bruce Arena is a good fit for the U.S. national team.
I mean, I think he's a perfect fit for the situation they're in right now. I don't think that Sunil Gulati made any illusions that Arena was like the long-term solution for the team. But I mean, he's helped the U.S. qualify multiple times for multiple World Cups. I think he's a go-to in this situation.
And since he left the national team in 2006, he has had remarkable success on the MLS level. He has shown more tactical flexibility than I think people give him credit for. He's known as this sort of go-to the 4-4-2 formation coach, doesn't have a lot of variety. He actually tried a lot of different looks with the Galaxy, had a lot of different tactics that he attempted over the years, and I think that's something that's going to serve him well in the second stint with the national team. I think this actually is an evolved and improved Bruce Arena that the U.S. is getting. So if you want to get out of a hole in a hexagonal qualifying stage, I don't think there's anyone in American soccer who would be a better fit, particularly considering his knowledge of the player pool and willingness to bring in guys like Dax McCarty and Darlington Nagbe, who had been kind of phased out under Klinsmann.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, and since you guys are DC based, I just want to ask a quick, DC U.S. national team question. Other than Birnbaum and Hamid, who else do you guys think would be a good fit for the U.S. national team?
Well, I mean, Kemp's gotten a look. Certainly, I think at that position, anybody could really make a name for themselves for the U.S.
I think with the forward pool the way it is, if Patrick Mullins can show the form he displayed over the second half of last season, over the course of a full campaign, he's a guy who could get into the mix.
Certainly could be the next Wando.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, man. We appreciate the call.
Okay. You guys have a good evening. Bye.
Sure.
Thank you.
I'm going to go straight to our voicemail box because we actually missed a call during that call.
Hey guys, Jose from DC. Thought I'd climb in real quick about the question about Schweinsteiger. What's going to happen this summer when Wayne Rooney's going to want to come over, or the rumors start that Wayne Rooney wants to come to MLS or China? So get your feedback on that. Thanks.
I mean, quickly, I've always thought that Rooney would be one of the few players globally who'd move the needle at the gate. I think people will come to see him, whether it's to boo him or cheer him. I think he would be a great fit for MLS. It's a shame. I think if he came, he'd probably end up in LA or something like that. Although maybe Zlatan Ibrahimovic will be in LA.
Yeah, you talk about Schweinsteiger, whether he would really be a box office draw. I think Rooney
100%.
would definitely. I mean, he's one of the, 5, 6, 7 most recognizable soccer players in the world.
It's that beautiful face.
Yeah, Ronaldo, Messi, Rooney,
Ibra.
Tan.
Ibra Tan.
Yeah.
Patrick Nyarko.
Yeah.
Let's get back to MLS real quick. Atlanta. I mean, can they sustain this?
Yes.
They can. You're right. And they actually play. They play like a team that's been together for 3 or 4 years.
I don't know how many people saw this. They broke the MLS record for passes completed in a single game against the Fire by over 100 passes.
Really?
The previous record was 700 something,
like
and they had they were closing in on 900.
Good God, man!
And I would also argue with Atlanta, over the first 3 weeks, their biggest weakness has been in goal.
Yeah,
Can made a big error, which led to a corner kick, which led to the Red Bulls equalizer in week 1.
Well, that problem will be very mightily solved mid-year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you add in Guzan.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people on Twitter too saying like, "Oh, they beat Minnesota and Chicago. They throttled it." Like there are so many teams in this league that would lose against those teams or draw or squeak out some bullshit 1-0 win.
And also, the Red Bulls game, they should have won.
Yeah.
And
They
that's
took
one
their
of
foot-
the
they took their foot off
better
the
teams
gas.
in the
They
league.
took their foot off the gas.
Yeah. One last point on that Chicago game. Yes, Chicago got a red card 10 minutes in, but two things about that. First of all, Atlanta had already scored.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, it wasn't the kind of red card where a player just lost his mind and had a terrible challenge. Like, Atlanta earned that red card.
Yes.
They were going in on a breakaway.
Yeah, they play with this style that it's electric and entertaining, and it fits their personnel, and it's only going to get better. The fact that they already have this cohesion after 8 weeks of training together is pretty remarkable. And when you look at the talent they have, and also these are a lot of young, raw players, they're only going to mature and improve as they get to know the league better, as they evolve as players. So this is a team that I think will 100% be a factor in the Eastern Conference discussion.
Let's before we move on to the national team, let's quickly touch on the Jeff Cassar firing. I was surprised. I mean, I actually read Caitlin Murray, a couple other people wrote in their preseason columns that they thought he'd be the first to go. I did not think it would happen after 3 games.
That's ridiculous. What's the logic behind bringing him back for an entire another season, letting him spend the offseason building his team if the leash is that short?
Re-signing him in the fall, by the way.
Like, if the leash is that short, and I don't think anyone would have blamed them too much if they had just dismissed him in the offseason and gone in a different direction and let Robin Fraser or Mike Petke or whoever build a roster.
Yeah, you do have to wonder about the Petke factor here. He was named head coach of the Real Monarchs this offseason, the RSL team in the USL. And right when that happened, everyone said, oh, man, Cassar's on borrowed time. Like, there's your ready-made replacement already within the organization.
I can tell you I've heard from a couple of people who I trust that that's not happening, the Petke thing.
The Petke thing, I feel like it already would have happened if that was the plan.
Right.
They would have just announced it as part of the initial.
I feel like
I think the other thing, too, is, we talked about this before the show. It'd be one thing if RSL went out, splashed a bunch of money out this offseason, signed a bunch of notable players, and they, declaring their intent to sort of be an elite MLS side. That didn't happen. It's not like they gave Cassar much to work with, right? I mean,
this is a team that finished 6th place last year, so they're in the bottom half of the league. Very quick playoff exit. They lose Javi Morales and replace him with Albert Rushnak. So that's kind of a like for like. Rushnak is a better long-term solution, but Morales was still fairly effective last year. He was top 5 in MLS in chances created. So it's not like Rushnak is a massive upgrade over what they had last year. They lose Burrito Martinez and replace him with, they bring in Brooks Lennon, who's young and raw. Martinez was quietly very effective last year. And I just look at the roster, and they just, they didn't properly replace Martinez. They did a like for like, bringing Rushnak in for Morales, and then the rest of the roster just kind of stayed steady. So you had a team that was mediocre, and if anything, looks like it got slightly worse during the offseason. So I don't know what they really expected to happen with the squad they put together.
All right, let's keep moving because Seth has a district sports soccer game to get to.
I do. I got my uniform on.
What
ready to go.
What time?
8:45.
What position do you play for your district sports side?
I mean, wherever they need me. Usually up top, number 9.
Wow.
I got banging the goals.
Wow.
I just want to quickly point out that I pulled a Joseph Martinez on Sunday and drew a red card for Dogso in my 11v11 game.
Really? You got red carded in a co-ed game?
The ref was very nice. He gave him a silent red card. He pulled him aside and was like, all right, you can't play the rest of the game, and your team has to play a man down. But I'm not going to show you a red card.
Oh, I thought you meant you got a red card.
Oh no,
you got dog-sowed.
I got dog-sowed.
Have you ever been red carded in your life?
No.
Really?
I mean, in FIFA.
God, dude, I got a red card like every 4 games in high school. I literally, my coach just put me out at center back. It was just like basically just like punish people,
Hurt the other team's best player.
Exactly. Yeah, I was the Aurelian Collin, but like without the men's clothing line. It was just like the Aurelian Collin of Nashville, Tennessee.
I got like 2 yellow cards, and that was
Seth,
it.
you ever gotten a red? Tarjeta roja alguna vez?
I don't think I've ever gotten a red card.
Impressive.
I mean, I was always an attacking player. So.
Oh my god.
Well, that just makes you less susceptible to drawing red cards. I mean,
Yeah, I got a second yellow once for taking my shirt off twice after scoring 2 goals. Let's talk about speaking of people missing games. The United States national team is going through a rash of injuries right now. What a smooth transition that was.
I liked
it. Jordan Morris, DeAndre Yedlin, Bobby Wood,
Bobby and
Johnson,
Patrick Mullins,
Long Tan. Basically, anybody with any allegiance to Jurgen Klinsmann is mysteriously hurt.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
It's probably
Patrick Mullins is going to be an Irish national too, by the way. I asked him. Actually, Matt Doyle instructed me to do this for a piece he was writing. I asked him last year if he'd been contacted by like the Irish Federation. Yeah. And he was like, no. And I was like, could you play for them? And he was like, man, I don't even know.
I was about to say, what was your lead on this? Was it just that he was named Patrick?
Completely. Yeah. I can tell you that right after that, I walked up to Lamar Nagel. Yeah. It was like, but he's actually being considered.
He's eligible. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he'd play for them.
And he's discussed it in the past, yeah.
Yeah.
Lamar Nagel, Patrick Mullins, Tommy McNamara.
Yeah.
We'll lift the 2022 World Cup.
Okay, but before we dive into the U.S.
Can
talk,
you imagine Tommy McNamara in an Ireland jersey just hoisting the World Cup over his head? Just smells like beer and like
that would be the worst moment in American soccer history.
You imagine, whatever legendary sports commentators like, oh, and there's Tommy McNamara hoisting the World Cup for Ireland. Like,
what a shame the United States let him get away.
Yeah, exactly. God, they didn't even qualify for this tournament.
Pablo, how have you felt about Rodney Wallace usurping Tommy Mac's starting spot?
Yeah, I'm disgusted. Or Morales. I mean, either one of them. You know what I mean?
Unfortunately, they're both doing really well. So
yeah, I mean, I obviously could go on and on about NYCFC, but I won't. But yeah, obviously, I'm pretty disgusted right now. You know.
All right, U.S. I think the U.S. team has the depth, obviously, to get the results they need. When you look at the potential lineup they could roll out against Honduras on Friday, it still is vastly more talented than what Honduras can put together. I mean, you're talking about a backline where you still have Jeff Cameron and John Brooks and Omar Gonzalez and Tim Howard in goal and Michael Bradley and Pulisic and Altidore, Dempsey, Sasha Kleshchin, who was a late call-up and has been the best playmaker in MLS over the last 2 years. So there are a lot of options that should be able to get the job done, but obviously it would be a bit easier if they had Johnson and Wood and Yedlin in the mix. I'm particularly worried about the fullback spots if you're a U.S. fan. Who's going to play there? Is it going to be Cameron shifting out the right back? Is it going to be Michael Orozco? Is it going to be Villafana at left back or 47-year-old DeMarcus Beasley?
I can't believe DeMarcus Beasley is on this team. I remember.
I can believe it. I mean, this isn't a.
I mean, 34. He's younger than Jermaine Jones.
I mean, who do you play there instead of him that's honestly better? And just in a one game, like in a one-off situation.
And are we talking this specific situation with who's healthy or in general?
Yes.
I feel like people maybe didn't read into this as much as I did, but the comments Bruce Arena made to Fox Soccer when the roster was released made me think that he's going with Villafana and that Beasley is just kind of there because he knows if Villafana gets injured or suspended, he can throw Beasley in there and he won't be overwhelmed by the moment. But I think he's going to go with Villafana.
Quick answer to the question in the stream. Somebody just wanted a Samuel Nkum update. Looks like he's applied his trade for a year and a half in Portugal. then moved on to Turkey, and now he's with Varaya in the Bulgarian First Division, and we can safely assume he's trashing apartments all over Europe.
Did they ever resolve that situation?
I don't know. For those of you who aren't familiar with this, Samuel Nkum, former DC United player, his landlord actually called into the show once to complain that Nkum trashed his apartment and then
fled the
country
and did not pay for the damages.
Definitely one of the more surreal moments in Open Wide for Some Soccer history. Anyways, yeah, back to the U.S. national team.
Are there problem spots on the roster that you're fixating on that you think could be real issues against Honduras?
Well, who plays
with Bradley in the middle? And what's the formation?
And where does Pulisic fit into all this?
I think the obvious answer is just a straight 4-4-2 with Nagbe on the left and Pulisic on the right. Those are two informed players who have been playing those positions. Pulisic, at least, he's kind of been going all over the place for Dortmund, but he has played on the right for them a good bit this season. Nagbe's been playing very well on the left for Portland. So in central midfield, it's probably a lot of people think it's going to be legit. I wouldn't be surprised if Arena turned to Bedoya. He's shown a history with the national team of turning to veteran guys in these must-win games, and Bedoya's been playing central midfield since signing with the Union last summer.
I enjoyed your Bedoya piece, by the way.
Thank you.
Good. Is he as good in real life as he is on social media?
He's very candid and honest, and seems to enjoy. He seems to enjoy interviews, which you can't say about every player.
Maybe he was just enjoying you, Thomas.
Well, I've been told I have a very welcoming face.
Welcoming face. That's interesting.
Never heard that.
Who told you that? So they told you in prison? Anyway.
Yeah. The issue is up top. If Jordan Morris can't go and Bobby Wood's out, do you start Dempsey? Arena has seemed very adverse to that solution.
I remember when Arena was saying not that long ago, there's very little chance that Dempsey will even be on the roster.
Yeah. And now he's on the roster, and he'll
and
probably be a sub.
You kind of have to start
Well, no, I'm just saying Arena said he's going to be a sub 10, 15 minutes, and now he kind of has to start, right?
Yeah.
He's played 3 90-minute games for the Sounders. I think his fitness isn't an issue. I'd start him. But maybe you play Kleshchen, maybe you move Pulisic to a central role and put him underneath Altidore. There are a few options there.
I do think that it's not a terrible option to have Pulisic in that Dempsey role as kind of a withdrawn forward. He's been playing there for Dortmund over the last month or so and has been in probably the best form of his professional career up to this point, playing that position, playing a little more inside compared to what we've seen him with Dortmund, playing more on the wing. So
Ronaldo, fat Ronaldo.
We've done this one before.
No, we haven't.
Fat Ronaldo played with Kaká.
God damn it.
Who played...
It's fine.
Yeah, okay.
You got it. It's whatever. It's fine.
Yeah.
Once he's in MLS, he's unstoppable. You know, the key is to.
We're picking players that are too well known. You have to pick some obscure Bulgarian national team player or something like.
Risto Stoichkov. No, that's he. All right.
Played with Ben Olsen, who coached Cristiano Francois, who plays for the Rhinos.
God damn it, Franz Beckenbauer.
Beckenbauer. So let's see. Beckenbauer played with Pele. Who?
I like you're asking that in the form of yes, Thomas.
It was more of a will you. I'm going to do a stretch here next. Pele was an executive on the NASL New York Cosmos.
What? No, he's not. He was their brand ambassador. You can't use brand ambassadors in this fucking game.
Are you telling me brand ambassador means nothing? It does.
Yeah. Yes, I am. The only brand ambassador you can use in this game is Frankie Haydick.
Okay.
All right. You know what? 20 seconds. You have 20 seconds.
Oh man. These old
Pele
school
was
players.
in that movie.
Yeah. He was in that movie with Sylvester Stallone. Sylvester Stallone was.
I love watching you just drift further from shore.
Sylvester Stallone was in. Let's see. I'm gonna get there. He was in Creed with Michael B. Jordan.
Jesus Christ, where are you going right now?
I'm trying to get. Let me see if I can get there.
Okay, you're at your third person now.
Okay, Michael B. Jordan was in Captain America
What are you?
with Chris Evans, who
Okay, you're 4.
who was in the
Hey, can you
Fantastic
tell-
Four movie with Jessica Alba.
That's
it's
5.
It's gonna be too many. Jessica Alba was on Entourage, which also featured Thierry
Oh
Henry.
my God, man!
And then that gets me to soccer.
This is disgusting. This is.
That's the
Sorry, man.
It was
I'm
too.
sorry.
It was too many names, but
I mean, I'm
was
impressed that you
getting
even
there.
got. I'm impressed that you could connect Michael B. Jordan to the Rochester Rhinos.
It's
so.
good. It's good to know also that you have that Jessica Alba to Thierry Henry leap. That's gonna get you.
I'd have gone maybe to Shep Messing from Pele. Would that get you closer?
Who is a commentator for
Yeah.
the New York Red Bulls?
I would. You'd. Can you get
Okay.
like maybe one of his? I don't know, man. Whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways,
So, guys, before we wrap up, I think we have to ask ourselves: is this game against Honduras? Is it a must-win? Does the U.S. have to win this game?
No.
no.
They don't.
They could. It is entirely feasible, however unlikely, that they could lose to Honduras on the weird fluke 1-0 home loss, and then win in Panama. And
Okay, let's put
And
it this way.
be
What
fine.
is the break-even point of this 2-game set? How many points must they have out of these 2 games?
I think 4 points is what they need to feel comfortable. If they're on 3,
What if they get 0? Let's just go right to that because I love those situations.
If they get 0, it is extremely perilous. But how many points did Mexico have and qualified last cycle? Is like 12.
Thank you very much to Neil.
I believe they won. I know they won like 2 games.
They won 2
out
games
of
and they
10.
drawed a ton.
Yeah.
I think they were on 12. I want to say.
If they don't win at least one of these 2 games, then they're setting
yeah,
themselves up.
they're making games like
to-
as Mexico at Azteca to
need-
be a must-win.
To need to
Yeah.
win games in places
Yeah.
like Mexico City.
Costa Rica.
Well, they've
They already.
Oh, yeah,
that's the
yeah.
thing. Like,
yeah, they did it.
That's the other thing is they have played 2 of their 3 hardest games.
Yeah.
You know, maybe we didn't give Klinsmann enough credit for that.
I'm saying, let's say they lose these next 2 and then lose at Azteca. So that's
Good
5.
God.
That's 5 losses.
At that point, I just,
But so they still have a path where they win the rest of their home games
Yeah.
and then win at Trinidad and Tobago.
Tie.
Sure.
Tie at Honduras.
Tie at Honduras.
So how many? That's
That
at
would put
3
them
wins,
at. And then if they
11 points.
Yeah, and then what's the other? They have one more road game left, or am I?
At Honduras.
Yeah.
At Trinidad.
Yeah.
At Mexico.
Right.
At Panama. Well, Panama's going to be
Right.
already happening.
I mean, at that point we're stretching, but it's not outside the realm of possibility. The Hex is extremely forgiving, but yeah, 4 points is what the U.S. should be hoping for.
I'll say
out of
this.
these games.
I think, and also 4 points is what they should get.
There's no
There's
reason.
no reason they shouldn't get at least 4 points in these 2 games.
And there's a lot of talk about Panama. You know, they played the U.S. tough, which has been true. They tied them at the Gold Cup and then lost to them in the 3rd place game. But there's no reason the U.S. shouldn't win in Panama. I feel like it's really a statement on the expectations that the U.S. is going to Panama and people are treating a point like it's the best case scenario.
I don't think that's true.
This is
I
a
think
team
that's
that
just-
still
that's
has
just
Velas
historically-
Perez.
Yeah, but historically, it's just like so hard to get points on the road in CONCACAF.
It's true.
I mean,
but
we've lost, for Christ's sake. I mean, Klinsmann lost to several people that we'd never lost to before, you know.
I'll say this. Even with the injuries that they have, there is no excuse to not get 4 points out of these 2 games.
True. Yeah. I mean, to me, Honduras at home is a harder game than Panama on the road.
I don't know about that. Honduras is. I can't pin them down because I look at their roster and I think that this is not as strong a Honduras team as we've seen, but also they have some guys who are really in form at the moment, and particularly if they have speed out wide and the U.S. is playing Michael Orozco and Jorge Villafana
or Beasley,
then there could be issues. So they're potential matchup issues.
All right, let's just wrap this up so Seth can get to his men's league game.
It's co-ed, actually.
How progressive of you.
Thanks. Talk to you guys in less than 3 months.
See you guys in 2018.